if I knew that I could not fit.
We're talking today about the concept of and topic of being called forth and what that means. And we've talked about how it's the little voice in our head that sometimes informs us, which helps us to discover not only what our gifts and talents are, but whether we're headed in the right direction.
First figure out what is that call and answer it. But I think it's not that easy. And I know in my life, I wished it was. You know, I used to think, please, an angel of God, come to my bedroom and just say, Kate Harper, this is what you are supposed to be doing. But that's not ever happened to me.
And probably most people.
My daughter, who's now 20, came to me when she was 9. And she said, Mom, can I have some paper to print something? So I gave her a few sheets. And she says, no, I need 300 sheets. I said, what are you printing? Well, I wrote a novel. And at 9 years old, she was passing out her novel at the middle school. Wow. And today she's a double major in creative writing and medieval studies, wow. And she writes. And she knows that's what she's going to do, even though Dad is saying, how are you going to support that? And she said, I'm going to write. I know I'm going to write. So I wished I'd had that for myself. I didn't. But I think for me it has come more in I'll be honest, in discontent. I was working at a company training engineers to work in teams, and it was a great company, it was a great job, and yet I would go home at night going, there's got to be something else. And I found myself actually, I would go to bed and sleep for a couple hours, and then I would wake up and I'd wander around the house. And I had a great gift at the time. Someone gave me the gift of a book on meditation, and I started meditating. And I think this sort of being able to listen to my thoughts and quiet my mind was the thing that allowed me to hear this little voice saying, you're going to be doing some kind of spiritual teaching. There's something in that. And at the time I went, no way. I train engineers.
Made no sense.
It made no sense.
Yeah.
And knowing that there was a different step coming allowed me actually to when opportunities came to kind of go, is that more soul satisfying? And it took a few years from then, but I actually eventually moved in that direction.
Restless is how I refer to it for myself. This restlessness where there's nothing really that seems to be wrong in some way, and in another sense, I feel like I should be doing something else. You know, so it can be work or personal. But
you don't have to know the end, but kind of when you're feeling that restlessness or that discontent, or sometimes life slaps you. You get laid off, or your husband comes home and says, I don't love you anymore, which did happen to me. And to go back to that place of, well, there's something next, just a little step that can maybe then lead to the bigger things.
But that we can't see it while we're in it, but we can listen to the next thing and the next thing. I also have a story of discontent, and it lasted a long time. My discontent, or the rumblings, lasted years around kind of what you said, Wendy, around is this all there is, or what's next, or there's got to be something else, or this isn't quite it. All that voice. Every time people would ask me what I did, they'd say, oh my God, that's amazing what you already do for a living, and you teach people and coach people. And I thought, I took a little hiatus from the voice and had a baby, but that didn't help really, actually. When I came up for air, the voice was still there. One day I was on the phone with my colleague, and all of a sudden, I just had this vision. And I had the vision of her company and my company melting into one thing. And I said to her, Gina, I just had the strangest image, but I'm really clear that you and I are meant to work together, and we're gonna form one company. And
which made no sense.
Which made no sense.
You each had your own business.
Right. We each had our own companies, and we were doing similar work. It wasn't like she was a carpenter and I was an astronaut. Nothing. And it just hit me. And I said it to her, and she sort of said, "Well, that's really nice. I'll talk to you tomorrow."
Thanks for sharing.
Right, thanks for sharing, exactly. And then she got on the phone the next morning, and she said, "Oh my God, I see it too."
Huh.
And then, like what you were saying, we didn't have a clue what to do. We didn't have any idea what was supposed to happen after that. The first step that we took was we started a blog, and nobody else could see the blog except us. So we didn't publicize it. But we decided we were going to start writing to each other. And
Interesting.
Just listening to what we talked about and what was being called forth in our writing.
You did start your own
We did
business
start
together.
Yes, fast forward, right. We did start a company, and that company is called Seven Stones Leadership Group, and we are developing our gift together now.
Yeah. So some similarities, right? You both had no idea how it would turn out or what it really meant when you felt like you should be in business together.
Yes, no idea.
No idea.
No idea. And I almost didn't say anything to Gina. You know, I mean, I had this vision while we were on the phone, and I thought, should I say something about this? Should I just pretend it didn't happen? And I chose to say it, and thank God I did.
We're willing to support each other, that there was a lot of support for, maybe we don't know how it's going to be, but together we'll figure it, and we'll incubate it, you know, kind of protect it a little bit while we're figuring it out.
Yes.
And even in my own case, my best friend called me and said, you want to go to coaching school? And I was like, okay. And we supported each other in making this sort of life transition. And there was a little sense of incubation too, you know, protection.
And support.
It's like that first 12 weeks of pregnancy, right? Where you don't talk about it, you really don't.
Yeah,
There's something about that sacredness, the incubation and the quiet that it takes to incubate something.
And you maybe tell your close-ins, but you don't maybe shout to the world yet. And there's many ways.
Yeah.
And I love that there was no rush. Like, okay, I've got it. Now, you know, quick, let me make it happen. There was a sitting back and saying, okay, let's just see what's here. Let's let it emerge. What is it that's being called forth? Instead of trying to make it what you think it should be. I started out as a physical therapist right out of school and went right into sports medicine. In a year, I started becoming really discontent. It's that same restlessness. I didn't really know what to do with that discontent. One afternoon, I went over to our sister clinic, and there was a gentleman there teaching. And I came in just at the end of the lecture, missed the whole thing. Oh, there is something other than what I've been doing. The best way to get to know it is to feel it. So we laid somebody out on a lawn chair, and he said, put one hand under her back and one hand on her belly. And now close your eyes and wait. And I'm like, oh, what do you mean wait? I'm a therapist. I'm supposed to move something. I'm supposed to massage, you know, be poking, give exercises. And he's like, no, just be patient, just wait. So I'm like, okay, this is crazy. Had my eyes closed, and all of a sudden, I felt my hand just glide right across her abdomen unit.
So this was a shift for you work-wise.
Huge.
And in a way, you were being called, if we're using our same terminology, into this new way of healing the body.
Right. And it was like that step that I didn't know existed showed up for me. Oh, here I was feeling the discontent, knew that there was something more, but couldn't name it.
I think it's common to think we're nuts in some way. So I think when we're being called forth, there's a little bit of, I must be crazy to be thinking this.
Doubt is a natural part of being called. And
some of us hear that doubt and stop in our tracks. You know, it stops us. That little voice on our shoulder, that little nagging, no, you must be crazy to be doing this, is something that often stops us. And how do you know, really, whether that little voice is right and you are nuts to be going in whatever direction you're feeling like maybe you should go in, or whether it's the right path?
But coming back to, I can take a step at a time and as much as possible enjoy this process of moving toward and expressing what is being called from me.
Have a little fun exploring next what's inside of you, just waiting to burst forth. Wake up to what's next in your life and join us next time as we continue to help you discover the magic of you.